Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 2016 America's Winter Championship semi-finals. The winner of this match will immediately advance to the Grand Finals. We have Puffin and Zenstyle, who are our two competitors. Puffin just recently won the Innkeeper's Showdown tournament, and he looks to continue his winning ways. And as for Zenstyle, he was once a powerhouse, but he hasn't had a finish in over a year. So we have to see if this tournament actually will mark his return to the competitive scene. Let's talk a bit about the lineups of the two players. We have Zenstyle piloting three combo decks with Tempo Mage, Malgus Warlock and the mid-range Druid. And as for Puffin, he opted for Oil Rogue, Freeze Mage and Zoo Warlock. This is the game 5, so it's gonna be the most important one of the series, and we have Zenstyle piloting the Mage and Puffin on the Rogue. It's kind of a 50-50 matchup. Like, it's a tempo war, you want to have control of the board and like use cheap spells to remove your opponent minions while developing your own, and the coin is the most important card. And let's see, actually, because we have the game undergoing right now, we can see that the coin is on the Mage's side with Zenstyle. He has a lot of cheap cards with Mana Wyrm, Arcane Missiles and Arcane Blast. He opts to keep all three of these to seize the control of the board in the early game, and Puffin has a very nice combination of cards with Prep, SI and Eviscerate. These three cards will actually allow him to eventually get the tempo back from his opponent. Now the early game is a bit passive from both players, especially from the Rogue side. Puffin will just use his hero power and wishes Happy Feast of Winterfell to his opponent, who will not react, at least for the moment. He probably saves his wits for the end of the game. He gets a Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is pretty interesting because it allows him to play the Apprentice and then coin the second Mana Wyrm, essentially adding a lot of power to the board. Yeah, if he wanted to play the Mana Wyrm, he should have played it first and then coined the Apprentice, which is like the correct sequencing to buff the second Mana Wyrm as well. But he opts to not overextend, to play around a possible Poison plus Blade Flurry from Puffin. And yes, Puffin now will do what I was actually talking about. He goes for the Prep plus Eviscerate on the Mana Wyrm and clears both minions while developing a 3/3 SI7 agent. And now Puffin gets the board, so Zenstyle has to immediately react. Fireball is not gonna help right now. He goes for the Mana Wyrm plus Arcane Blast. And now the missiles will probably clear the Psy agent. It's gonna be very, very bad for Zenstyle if the missiles miss, but they don't miss, they actually hit the target, so Zenstyle is in fine shape right now. And Puffin picks up an Eviscerate, which is not exactly useful at the moment. He could play the Tinker Soil, buffing his weapon to a 4/2 and allowing him to just clear the Mana Wyrm. And I expect him to probably opt for this play. Yep, he indeed goes for this one. Let's see. He's thinking, having the second thoughts. I honestly don't see another play. Like, you can Eviscerate and Redagger, but it doesn't make much sense because you're not gonna use the oil until like turn 6. So you really wanna get the oil right now and always have the threat of the Blade Flurry on. And as we can see, Zenstyle has no minions right now, which is really important for Puffin. He draws a Mirror Image, which is not a minion, but at least he can play the Mirror Entity with the Mirror Images, which means that every minion played by Puffin will actually be protected. So the Azure Drake being played right now will be protected by the Mirror Images. So Puffin will probably, no, he gets a Sludge Belcher. So Sludge Belcher means that Zenstyle will get another Taunt, which actually makes the images less valuable because now his opponent has the option to choose which minion he will attack. And Zenstyle picks up an Antonidas, which means that the coin now, from being a very unvaluable card for his hand, becomes one of the best cards he could have had because it gives him 1 Mana Crystal alongside with the Archmage Antonidas and most importantly a Fireball. And now Puffin has to react. He's given different options. He can play the Azure Drake and face tank the Belcher or just save his weapon for the Flurry or just play the Flurry. Goes for the Azure Drake and he's thinking about the attack. He decides to go for the attack, which means he decides that his Azure Drake has a lot of value. Now Zenstyle top takes a Portal, let's see what he gets. He gets a Kel'Thuzad, which is very interesting, because now he has the option of coining the Kel'Thuzad and protecting his Taunt minions. Although he goes for the immediate end turn and pings his opponent's face, the only thing I don't really like now is him not giving any thought for the Kel'Thuzad play. Puffy now can just play Loafer and Hero Power. It's a very decent play, especially right now, because you deny your opponent the chance to play any spells. It's one of the best cards against Tempo Mage, but also against Rogue, so we're gonna see this card having a big impact in this matchup. Now Zenstyle picks up an Acer Drake. He could play the Acer Drake or the Kel'Thuzad, but since he didn't play Kel'Thuzad last turn, I probably expect him to go for the Drake, and he opts to go for the Drake. Picks a counterspell, and yeah, he can ping any target right now. This is probably the most questionable of all three options, because pinging the Loatheb bluffs a Flame Strike, and pinging the Face sets up your opponent to triple Fireball range, which means you can kill him if you manage to get enough Fireballs with Antonidas. So I think this is a bit questionable, but we have to think what Zenstyle is thinking right now, and it's pretty hard to get into his shoes right now. Puffing has a sprint and decides to go for the sprint. And I really like this option because if you don't play sprint right now, you will probably never find the time to sprint. So you play sprint while you're a bit ahead, and this allows you to get even more ahead. So now he goes for a Deadly Poison, and yeah, he will probably trade the entire board and trade the two Drakes. I mean, his opponent picking the Drake makes Puffin want to trade his Drake kinda more, because he's kinda like saying, I have an Arcane Blast or Arcane Missiles in my hand. And now Zenstyle picks up an Arcane Intellect, which gives him a Flame Waker plus a Shredder. And now, so right here he's probably gonna go with Kel'Thuzad, because the biggest problem for him right now is a sap. And if his opponent has a sap, which we haven't seen yet, the sap will actually punish any of these plays. So it's fine to play Kel'Thuzad even if he gets sapped, and Puffing now gets a Violet Teacher. This is a huge draw for Puffing, because Violet Teacher allows him to spawn additional 1/1s every single turn, and every single spell will be a problem for Zenstyle. He has to immediately deal with a Teacher. Gets a huge tempo swing by sapping the Kel'Thuzad. These are exactly the tempo swings I was talking about. And now immediately, yeah, goes for the double Fireball play, which I like, because now, as I said before, if he gets a third Fireball, he will be able to kill his opponent over 2 turns. So now Puffing knows he is in a clock, so he has to be as aggressive as possible. Let's see what Puffing will go for. Picks up a Bloodmage Thalnos, which plays good around the second possible mirror entity. Of course, we know it's a counterspell, but he doesn't know the cards in his opponent's deck. So he's thinking like whether that's a second mirror entity or a counterspell. Goes for the Thalnos, which means he will probably play both backstabs. The first one will get countered, but he's completely fine with that. He gave 0 mana for a 3 mana card, and now backstab will deal 3 damage to the Antonidas. And yeah, I see him using the base rate on the Antonidas right now. He could also clear it with a Blade Flare if he wants to be more aggressive, which makes some sense, since the mage will never be able to play a lot of minions while still removing your opponent's threats. And I really like this play. It's very aggressive. It actually does what I suggested last turn. It sets lethal, so now Zenstyle cannot kill you over 2 turns. This is like the importance of the clock in matchups that go really aggressive in the late game, and even plays the Viscerate. I really like this. Bringing your opponent to 6, and now Zenstyle is in dire straits. He needs to react immediately, and picks up a mirror entity, which means that he's not dead on board. He fireballs first, obviously, to reduce the chances of the pings of the Flame Waker hitting the Loatheb. Goes for the mirror image and tries to snipe the 1/1s. Gets a decent result from the pings. And nothing can stop Zenstyle. I doubt it, Zenstyle. Puffins, Valera is more than enough to stop you, judging by this board state. And now Puffin will play Dr. 7, which is an alternate name for our favorite card, Dr. Boom, such a strong card, especially in the late game. And yeah, Puffin now can preparation to get 1/1s. Puffin is a rogue expert. He knows exactly the value of preparation. It's a very useful card in the early game, but right now it's no more than a 1/1. So now, yeah, he will play Blade Flurry, which will allow him to use the Violet Teacher to trade into the Flame Waker, and you're still killing your opponent in the next turn. And now Zenstyle, I don't know what can save him. Oh, the Conjurer can actually save him if he gets a Frost Nova or an Ice Block. He gets a Cone of Cold, but it's not enough because the positioning of Puffin is excellent. And yeah, he goes for the Cone of Cold on the Boom, so the Boom would make him. Yes, and oh, too bad. But yes, we actually have it decided. I mean, Puffin is gonna be Puffin is gonna be the winner. Puffin is gonna be our first finalist. He's gonna directly advance to the final of the 2016 America's Winter Championship Finals. He even BMs a bit, returns the favor of the Happy Fist of Winterfell, and kills his opponent. He kills Zelstyle with style, and advances to the final. Okay guys, we're gonna make a short break and be right back.